The Tiger tank crested the hedgerow just as the world seemed to stop breathing. For one frozen heartbeat, everything went silent. No artillery, no shouting, no engines, only the slow creak of steel tracks and the unbearable knowledge that death was now visible, enormous, and rolling straight toward him. Private First Class Elliot Red Hargreaves lay pressed into the mud of a shallow drainage ditch in northern France, his fingers clenched around a mud-slicked bazooka tube that suddenly felt absurdly light against 45 tons of German armor. The Tiger's gun barrel swung lazily, searching. Patient. Confident. It didn't rush. It never needed to. Red tasted copper. Fear. Blood from where he'd bitten his lip without realizing it. 3 tigers. Not 1. Not 2. 3. They moved in a staggered line through the smoke-choked orchard, black crosses stark against their yellow-gray hulls, engines rumbling like distant thunder. Infantry scattered behind them like ants behind a plow. Red's squad was gone. Minutes ago, maybe seconds, there had been shouting, orders overlapping, men firing blindly into smoke. Then the first Tiger fired. The blast erased a farmhouse and half a platoon in one concussive wave. The second shell found the road. The third. Red didn't remember the third. He only remembered running, diving, and the sudden, crushing realization that he was alone. The bazooka had been dropped by Corporal Mendez when shrapnel took his leg. Red had grabbed it without thinking. Training. Instinct. Desperation. He had fired the weapon exactly twice before. Both on a range. Both times missing the target. Now 3 of the most feared machines in World War II were less than 100 yards away. Red's heart hammered so hard it felt loud enough to give him away. He forced himself to breathe. In. Out. The ditch smelled of rot and cordite. His helmet had slid crooked, and he didn't dare adjust it. The Tigers halted. Engines idled. They were scanning. Waiting for resistance to reveal itself. Red's thoughts raced, not heroic, not noble. Raw. Human. I don't want to die screaming. He remembered his mother's hands kneading bread in a Kansas kitchen. His father's silence when the draft letter came. Mendez laughing 2 nights ago, swearing the war would end before Christmas. A flare hissed overhead. The lead Tiger advanced again, turning slightly, exposing its flank. Red's training officer's voice echoed from months ago, distant but sharp, front armor. Don't bother. Side or rear. Close range. Pray. He wiped his palms on his trousers and slid the rocket into the tube with shaking hands. The bazooka felt heavier now. Real. The distance closed. 60 yards. 50. Red knew something then, clear and cold. No one was coming. No orders were coming. No retreat was possible. If the Tigers reached the crossroads behind him, the entire American line would collapse. He wasn't thinking about medals. He was thinking about time. 90 seconds. That was all history would give him. The bazooka had a reputation it didn't deserve. In theory, it was a tank killer, a rocket-propelled answer to German steel. In reality, it was temperamental, inaccurate, and terrifying to use at close range. Against a Tiger tank, most soldiers treated it as a gesture of defiance rather than a solution. Red knew all of this. He also knew he had no alternative. The first Tiger rumbled closer, its tracks chewing through earth, crushing a fallen apple tree beneath its weight. Red could see weld seams now. Scratches. The grime of weeks of combat. It looked less like a vehicle and more like a living thing, an armored predator hunting patiently. He raised the bazooka inch by inch. His hands stopped shaking. That surprised him. Fear didn't vanish, but it sharpened. Focused. The world narrowed to angles and distance and the faint, exposed rectangle of side armor. 40 yards. Red remembered Mendez's voice during training, joking but serious, "You only get one good shot. Make it count." He exhaled. Pulled the trigger. The bazooka roared like a dragon exhaling fire. The rocket streaked forward, an orange blur, and slammed into the tiger's side with a metallic crack that echoed across the field. For half a second, nothing happened. Then flame burst from the impact point, black smoke pouring out like blood from a wound. The tiger lurched, ground to a halt, and erupted in a violent internal explosion that blew its turret hatch skyward. Red didn't cheer. He didn't breathe. He rolled. A machine gun burst shredded the ditch where he'd been lying a moment earlier. Dirt sprayed his face. The second tiger had spotted him. Red scrambled through mud and roots, heart slamming against his ribs as tracers cut through the air. He slammed a new rocket into the tube without standing, muscle memory taking over. The second tiger turned its turret. Too slow. Red rose to one knee and fired. The rocket hit low, near the track assembly. The explosion snapped metal like bone. The massive tank slewed sideways, its engine screaming in protest before dying in a cloud of smoke. 2. Red was dimly aware of shouting now, German voices, panicked, sharp. Infantry scattered, unsure what they were facing. The third tiger reversed, then stopped. It was learning. Red knew what that meant. It would fire blind. Flatten the area. Turn everything into rubble. He ran. Not away. Closer. He sprinted through smoke and falling debris, boots slipping, lungs burning. He needed the rear armor. He needed distance measured in yards, not dozens of them. A shell detonated behind him, throwing him forward. He hit the ground hard, stars exploding behind his eyes. His helmet rolled away. The bazooka skidded from his hands. For a moment, the world went white. Then he crawled. Fingers found the tube. He dragged it to him like a lifeline. His ears rang. Blood ran into his eyes. The third tiger loomed above him now, turning, engine roaring, turret seeking. Red forced himself upright. 10 yards. 5. He fired. The third rocket struck the tiger's rear armor dead center. The explosion was catastrophic. Flames punched outward as if the tank itself had screamed. The engine compartment detonated, lifting the rear of the vehicle off the ground. Black smoke billowed skyward, thick and oily, blotting out the sun. Silence followed. Not the peaceful kind, just the stunned absence of sound that comes after violence too sudden to process. Red stood there, swaying, bazooka slipping from numb fingers. 3 tigers. Destroyed. He didn't know how long it had taken. Only later would officers with watches and maps calculate it. 90 seconds. German infantry fled. Some dropped their weapons. Others ran without looking back. Red collapsed to his knees. His body began to shake violently now that the danger had passed. Adrenaline drained away, leaving exhaustion so deep it felt like gravity had increased. Hands grabbed him from behind. American hands. Voices shouted his name, his rank, words he couldn't quite understand. Someone slapped his helmet back onto his head. Another laughed, high and hysterical. "You crazy bastard," someone said. "You did it." Red stared at the burning wrecks. He felt nothing. They sat him on an ammo crate while medics checked him for wounds he didn't remember earning. The battlefield around him slowly reassembled itself, sound returning, movement, reality. Word spread fast. Men came to stare at the wrecked tigers like pilgrims at a shrine. Officers asked questions. Red answered in short sentences. He wasn't trying to be humble, he simply didn't know what else to say. He slept that night without dreams. By morning, the story had grown. By afternoon, it had grown again. A colonel shook his hand. A photographer took pictures. Someone mentioned medals. Red listened, detached. Because in his mind, he was still in the ditch, counting yards and heartbeats. By the way, if you're still clinging to this moment with him, make sure to hit subscribe. Stories like this don't end here, and neither does his. The war moved on. So did Red. Fame and war was a strange thing. It didn't feel real while it happened, and it never stayed long. Red was rotated to another unit. Another front. Another stretch of mud and fear and waiting. He was careful with the bazooka after that, not cautious, but respectful. He knew what it could do. And what it cost. Sometimes men asked him to tell the story. He rarely did. At night, he dreamed of engines. The official reports recorded the incident in clean, efficient language. Enemy armor neutralized. Exceptional individual action. What they didn't record was the smell. The sound. The moment when a young man realized the world would end unless he stood up. Red survived the war. Millions didn't. When he went home, parades came and went. Life resumed its ordinary shape. The tigers became photographs. Then footnotes. Then trivia. Today, historians still debate the exact sequence of events. Distances. Angles. Timing. But the truth remains unchanged. Once, just once, a single soldier stood between destruction and survival. He had 90 seconds. And he did not fail.